Welcome to everybody. I'm Andrea Leary. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Executive Director of the Merrimack Valley TMA, and I want to welcome you all to today's webinar, which is the first in a series of the TMA's 2025 bike education webinars. And we're titling the series Four Steps to a Healthier and Greener You. Today's webinar is Biking 101, Shifting Gears to a Healthier You and a Greener Planet, and is presented by Dave Ricker from the Pedal and Fools Mobile Bike Services. Dave has over 30 years of experience in outdoor retail, and since 2017, Dave has been the proprietor of the Pedal and Fools Mobile Bike Services. And I'm sure many of you may have met Dave at our many bike tune-up events that we've had over the fall and summer of last year. And just FYI, we plan to have more of those mobile tune-ups as well at various work sites and residential locations in the Merrimack Valley this spring. So keep an eye out for that. And we're excited to have Dave here with us. Just before we begin, I wanted to just have a few housekeeping items. If we can just keep our microphones muted, that would be really helpful. Sometimes there's things like trash trucks in the background, or for those of you who may have spouses or partners at home, sometimes they're blending smoothies in the background or whatever. So we just want to see if we can keep the mics muted. We'll also have time at the end of the webinar for any questions that you might have. So if you have questions during the presentation, if you can just jot them down, and we promise that they will be time allocated at the end for Dave to answer any questions, or myself if they apply to me. And finally, don't forget that everybody who's attended today's webinar, as a thank you for your time today, because we know your time is valuable, we'll be providing you all with a $5 Dunkin' gift card. And so now, without further ado, I'd like to present and turn things over to Dave Ricker. So thanks, Dave.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Andrea, and thank you everyone for participating today. We hope you're as excited to learn as we are to share. So on that, we'll get started. And before we get into the meat of the webinar, we just have a couple of disclaimers. Before you get started, always check with your primary care provider to make sure that you don't have any extenuating circumstances that are going to prevent you from participating, riding a bicycle. And also check your bicycle. Just make sure that it's ready to go. Check your tires to make sure that they're holding air and there's no rips in the sidewalls, on the tread's in good condition. Check your brakes and your shifting. Make sure that the brakes aren't diving into the tire or hitting the rim, and make sure that you have good brake pads. Check the shifting to make sure that you can get all your gears and that your shifters are working properly and the cables aren't frayed and gonna be breaking. Check the contact points, your saddle and your grips, to make sure that they're in good condition. The saddle is something you might want to consider replacing, and we'll talk about that as we get further into the webinar. Some other things to consider: what are your goals? Why am I riding? Are you going to be riding for commuting, for fitness? Will you be doing family rides, vacations, going looking for the local rail trails? Or will you be using your bicycle to work on your weekend chores, going to the grocery store, the bank, the post office? Those are all very good reasons to get the bike out. Some more things to consider is how long will the commute be? How far? A commute of 10 to 15 miles or approximately an hour is a good distance if you're going to be working all day. If your commute is longer than that, then are there hybrid options available? Something like a bike train combination, a bike bus, a bike car. What about your route to your work that you're going to be commuting or riding? Are there safe routes available? Do you have the option of incorporating some of the multi-use paths that we have throughout the North Shore, which are always expanding? And if you are, we didn't do the fitness, but anyway,
Right.
if you are looking at some other things to consider, family rides, look at the rail trails locally. Have a destination in mind. That's always going to help younger riders get involved and excited about cycling. Ride to the beach, ride to get an ice cream, take your bikes on vacations. The Cape Rail Trails and again throughout the area, throughout New England, rail trails are always expanding. Those are great ways to explore. It's a good pace. You're at a slower pace, so you see a lot more. Decorate your bike for your local holiday parade. That's another way to get kids involved. If you're going to be doing your weekend chores, think about, taking your bike, find a route that you can do a loop with the bank, the grocery store, the post office, etc. This is all going to save you money. It's another ride you can do during the week. It's a great stress reducer. And here we can see we've got a picture of one of my bicycles that I have set up. It's got some less than standard groceries on the back of that. So, there's certainly ways you can make it work with your bicycle.
Dave, if you want to talk about the fitness, that's fine too.
Yeah, we'll go back to the fitness a little bit. So if you're going to be using a bicycle as fitness, well, think about what is your current fitness level? Um, when's the last time you were on your bicycle? How far can you comfortably ride? Do you need any special clothing? Well, you don't really need any special clothing, but you were definitely going to want to have a helmet. That's something you want to have on every ride, and example that to your children as well. Rides longer than an hour, you're going to look at things like technical clothing are going to have benefits. By technical clothing, I mean something that's going to wick the moisture. Bike shorts have padding that are going to help with sitting on the saddle for longer rides. The pedals and shoes that are designed for cycling, the shoes are designed to be stiff, whereas a walking shoe wants to flex. You don't want your cycling shoe to stiff. I mean to flex. So if you're thinking about riding for fitness and you're going to be doing longer rides, or you have a charity ride in your years um agenda that your planner that you're looking to do and you're building up to that, then you might want to consider some technical clothing as well. But an hour commute to work, it's certainly not necessary. Street clothes are going to be adequate. If you're on your bicycle and you're riding in street clothes, you might want to consider something, a pant, something around your pant leg so that you're not going to get it caught in the chain. They do make reflective pant straps as well, so that's another way to make yourself more visible. All right, so now we're going to go on to maybe slide number 6. Things to consider, some other things to consider would be your bicycle. Do you need to go out and buy a new bike to ride and commute to work? Not at all. You can certainly, the bike you have currently is probably going to be adequate and appropriate. If you are looking at a new bicycle, you might consider an e-bike at this point. That's going to make your commute with less effort, but you still have to pedal. And there are laws that are surrounding e-bikes as well that are coming into play. So if you have your current bicycle, are you going to be comfortable with doing the maintenance yourself? By maintenance, we're talking basic bike maintenance, like washing the bicycle, lubricating the chain. This is something where you don't want to use WD-40. You want to have a bicycle specific lubricant. Do you have a good bike pump to check your tire pressure? That's something you want to do every time you ride or on a regular basis is check your tire pressure. Keeping your tires properly inflated is going to ensure that you don't flat and also will ride with less effort. If you ever ridden a bicycle with low tire pressure, you know how much more effort it takes to move the bicycle. Um, and if you do have an area at home where you can set up a good basic shop, you might want a repair stand, some basic tools like a Phillips head screwdriver, a set of Allen wrenches, an 8, 9, 10 combo wrench, some torque keys, possibly, maybe a pedal wrench at most. And if you don't have a place at home to set up and you want to do the maintenance yourself, most communities now have bicycle co-ops and nonprofit bike shops where you can use the bicycle repair stands, and either a volunteer or a staff member will answer questions for you while you're there. You may have to provide a donation to use the stand, but it's a good way to work on your bicycle as well. And regardless of whether you're going to be doing your own bicycle maintenance, you should also, after every 100, or after every 50 hours of use, or approximately 750 miles, your bicycle should be tuned by a professional. They're going to go through the bicycle and do more detailed checking of wears, make sure all the torques on your bicycle that are, at factory recommended torques. And then after every 100 hours of use, so about every couple of 3 years, you want to overhaul the bicycle. And an overhaul breaks the bicycle down to the bare frame and rebuilds it with all new parts as necessary. And that's just going to help your bicycle last longer and perform better. And what about the comfort and fit of your current bicycle? One of the things that you want to check for sure is your seat height. Making sure you have proper seat height again will allow you to maximize your leg muscles. If it's too low, you're not going to be able to climb hills easily, for example. If it's too high, you're going to get conditions that are going to cause numbness and pain, and that's again certainly not anything you want while you're riding your bicycle. Some things you might want to modify on the bicycle for fit, again, as I mentioned, are your saddle. That's something that's probably changed in the last 10 years the most, is how the bike industry understands the saddle should interact with your human anatomy, and that is dependent on whether you're a man or a woman. So the saddles are different for men and women. Also on your bicycle itself, it might want to be modified for commuting or grocery shopping. So again, thinking about fenders, a full chain guard, rack, a bicycle water bottle cage, some sort of a bag on the bicycle to carry small items. You can either have a seat bag, or now they're often putting the bag on the top tube so that you can put your phone in it as well. So those are all things to consider. So some other things to consider will be your workplace amenities. Does your employer have lockers that you can use, so in case you have to store valuables or clothes there overnight or during the day? Is there a shower that you could use if you need to when you arrive at work? You get in the heat of the summer, you're definitely going to be perspiring, but that hour is a good distance. Is there a bike rack available for you to use? Is it indoors or outdoors? An outdoor bike rack, you might want to have something like a shower cap available so you can cover your seat in case it rains. And also, is there secure storage inside? I've been to many corporate locations where they do have inside bike racks, so check for your bike storage at work before you start as well. And then as you're planning your route, so as we said earlier, are there safe routes for you to travel to get to your work? The Merrimack Valley TMA, we're going to be developing a route guide that will be available in May of 2025. It will have GPX files that you can download to your phone or bike computer, whatever device you use on your bicycle. It will include the popular commuter routes, as well as some routes between the residential centers that are becoming more and more prevalent in North Shore. There's also apps like Google and Waze that will allow you to choose bicycle as your mode of transportation. And recently, Google has added the feature that if you choose bicycle, and there are bike routes, bike trails available or rail trails available, it will route you to that rail trail as part of your trek. And here we can see we have the example of the route from the Andover train station to Schneider Electric over there on River Road. It's about a 5 mile, 30-minute ride. So, if you're considering a bike route, Google is a good option. There's also apps like Strava, Ride with GPS, Map My Ride, where you can create GPX files and then download them to your phone for a route guidance, or a lot of bike computers now will allow you to download a GPX file and you get point-to-point turn navigation. All right, some benefits for you from riding a bicycle. There's no such thing as a low carb diet when you're riding a bicycle. It's a low impact, high aerobic activity, so it's going to improve your muscle strength. It's going to improve your lung capacity and heart capacity. It's going to strengthen your connective tissues. So when you start, you talk connective tissues, we're talking about your knees, your joints, the soft tissues. You want to start slow, as we mentioned, and build up, especially those connective tissues. When you first get started in the spring, if you haven't been on the bicycle a while, use a easier to pedal, a higher cadence and less torque, so that you build up those connective tissues in your knees. It's also a great weight loss. There's no such thing as a low carb diet. If you're riding your bicycle, you're going to start to see weight come off without even really trying. Other than the effort you're putting out when you're riding your bicycle. If you're commuting to work in your car, you're burning 0 calories per hour. If you're riding on your bicycle, you can see we have some common miles for if you're going to be riding your bike, some common average speeds. 10 miles per hour, you're going to be burning about 250 calories per hour. 12 to 14 miles per hour as an average is a very attainable speed for most people. You're burning 650 calories per hour. And if you're an avid cyclist and you're out riding 17 to 19 miles per hour, which is very, again, attainable for somebody who's an avid cyclist, you're burning over 1,000 calories an hour. And that's going to really start, again, burning up the food as fuel. It's a great way to reduce stress. Nothing makes you feel like an 8-year-old like riding a bicycle. You smile. It's a great, it's a great stress reliever. And also it's kind of I feel, this is just my own personal opinion, that it's kind of subconsciously meditative. Your brain is so focused on the physics that keep a bicycle upright that it's hard to think about the trials and tribulations of the day. It was Albert Einstein's favorite place to think was on his bicycle. It'll also save you money. Again, you're not putting gas in the tank. So you're by commuting once a week and doing your weekend chores on bicycle, you're reducing your weekly driving by 40 miles, as much as 40 miles. And there are also great benefits to the planet by riding your bicycle more frequently, not just for you. You're reducing your consumption of fossil fuels. Cars emit 4 pounds of CO2 per hour, or 4.6 million metric tons of CO2 per year into the atmosphere. Excuse me. That's all greenhouse gases, which are reducing the health of the planet. So by commuting once a week on your bicycle, you're going to be saving approximately 2,000 pounds of CO2 a year. And if you add your weekend chores to that, that's about 4,000 pounds of CO2 that you are personally removing from the stream. Less CO2 means better air quality, which is better for everybody. And some final thoughts before we start opening up for questions. The MVTMA is more than just for commuting. We also have programs like the Community Connect, where you can register, and any bike trip you take, you log your bike trips, and any bike trip you take, you earn gift certificates. The same with the Green to Work program. You sign up, and by commuting to work, you're earning gift certificates. They also have a guaranteed ride home in case you commute to work and there's an emergency situation where you can't ride your bike home. For example, your boss asks you to work late or whatever the reason may be, they will provide an Uber Lyft or an Uber ride home, but it is, again, for emergency purposes. This isn't like I don't feel like riding home kind of thing. Any trip 2 miles or less is as fast on a bicycle as it is in your car. So start looking at those trips that you have in your weekly riding, and try to work ways so that you can try to find ways you can work your bike into those trips. Might be, maybe you ride the kids to one of their sports practices or whatever, as a family. Your weekend chores, whatever you can do to try to reduce your use of fossil fuels. Find a local club or a meetup that is offering group rides. Again, they're often doing weekend rides on the rail trails, and these are going to be like-minded people. And if fitness is your goal, then they're going to help keep you motivated. And then also think globally and act locally. Find your local advocacy group. There are groups in Andover, Mass, for example, the Walk Bike Coalition that's really trying to reduce the use of automobiles throughout the city of Andover. And then there's also things like your local bike bus. Lots of times parents in your communities are creating, a couple parents will get together and they're creating a safe way for kids to ride to school in a group. And lastly, since we're here, I thought I'd give myself a plug for my business. I hope you don't mind. But I've created what I call Peddling Fools Adventures. It's a community supported retail program. There's lots of benefits available, as well as benefits of partner businesses locally and as well as nationally. So if you want more information on that, you can check it out at peddlingfools.com. And don't forget, when you're riding, it's fun at any pace. Wherever you're doing, whatever you're riding, have fun. So do we have any questions from anybody? I know I kind of probably rushed through some things, and
Dave, I
this is
have
the
a
time.
general question about riding in cold or inclement weather like we have now.
Yep.
And any recommendations or things you can do to. I
Oh,
noticed that
sure.
my bike tends to be very resistive after a few minutes in this cold.
Resistant where?
Like the crankset just seems to get stiff.
That
And
might be an indication that there's like bearings that need to be replaced, but certainly keeping up on your lubrication, cleaning and lubrication. This time of year, there's lots of caustic um, chemicals on the road, so making sure that you're cleaning. Don't be afraid to wash your bike. Take it to don't be afraid to take it to the self-serve car wash. Just don't use high pressure to spray around the bearing surfaces. And you can use something like Dawn and a mild solution of Dawn and water, soap it down, rinse it off, and then that's a time where I would say use WD-40, spray everything with the WD-40 because that WD stands for water displacement, and then let that evaporate off fully before you apply your proper bicycle-specific chain lube like Tri-Flow or Pedro's or Finish Line. All make good bicycle-specific lubes, but WD-40 is not a lubricant. It will not be good for the bicycle other than removing the water. And then there's things like you can use, they call them pogues. They go over your grips and brake levers and everything. There's just basically gloves that you slide your hands into.
Other questions? Mark, did that answer your question fully, or did you have a follow-up?
it did. It's certainly a good start.
Great.
If you have more questions for me directly, Mark, feel free to reach out
Sure. Thank
if
you.
I didn't answer everything.
Any other questions from folks?
Are these programs funded by the state of Massachusetts? I'm just concerned with the current political environment that these things might be ending soon.
So they're actually not. The TMA is a public-private partnership. And so what that means is that we're kind of like a chamber of commerce in that it's a membership for folks' work sites and also residential developments in the Andover, North Andover, Lawrence, Methuen, and Haverhill communities. So we work with businesses and residential developments. They pay membership dues, and for that membership dues, there are programs and services that the TMA provides with the goal of getting folks to get out of their individual cars and use some form of an alternative, whether that be telework or biking or public transit, carpooling, van pooling, etc. So that's what we do. We do have a grant that the TMA did just receive this year from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to fund some of our additional biking initiatives as well as some of our carpooling initiatives. But that money is there and allocated for these purposes. So these are in addition to the normal programs that the TMA runs. The TMA has been in business since 1997. So I don't think we're going, I'm hoping we're not going any place anytime soon. We have a healthy membership. We have over 50 members in the Merrimack Valley TMA.
All right, thank you. That's good news.
Great. Any other questions around today's presentation? I actually have a question personally.
Sure.
As many of you may know who know me, I have grandchildren, and I'm kind of interested in, they're younger right now, but thinking ahead, what's the appropriate age to kind of get them on a bike, to get them going for like a family ride? And, I mean, I personally, as they're younger, would be concerned, with them being on the street. Do you recommend, rail trails, or like what's the first step to getting them going, and around what age should I be thinking about that?
Sure, that's a great question, Andrea. Well, again, that's going to be subjective to the parent and child and their individual, when do they start riding a bicycle. But typically 8 to 10 years old is when it's a good age where they're going to be strong enough to do a longer ride, and also aware of, what's going on around them enough so that I would feel more comfortable with them. Certainly a rail trail is where I would recommend starting so they can learn how to ride. And you're riding in a family, you're riding in a small group. So learn how to group how to ride in a group, how to point out any of the obstructions in the road or beside the road. Also how to ride, in traffic, teach them how to ride in traffic, that as a bicycle, you are a moving vehicle, so the same laws apply to you as are going to apply to a car. And so teach them the hand signals and the rules of the road and those kind of things. For example, riding a bicycle, because you are a moving vehicle, you're always moving with traffic, not against traffic. Walking, you're going to use against traffic. Yes, Bonnie, that's a great about the helmet. I did mean to mention that in my presentation, that if you don't have the only kind of special gear you need or special clothing you need is a helmet. I think I did mention that. Always wear a helmet. And as a
Um,
parent, represent to your child that's, you don't get on the bike without your helmet. The bike industry says, any fall 6 feet or less is enough to do permanent brain damage. And I have personal experience of that. That happened with my father, where he fell outside of a restaurant, and from that point forward had permanent brain damage. So that's, definitely something that can happen.
Andrew, you had your hand up.
Do we have a
You're,
question?
there you go. Nope, still muted.
Do we have a question?
That's, you don't show as being muted, so I think I'm not sure if it's on your computer.
I have a question from Carol. Do you have any recommendations for bike helmets or tips to look for when purchasing one? So all bike helmets that are sold have to pass the same safety requirements. What you are going to get, as you go up in price, are better fit adjustments or better fit features, and also better ventilation. But any helmet is going to protect you from minimum impact and buckle retention. Yeah, okay, now Andrew, we can see you.
Any chance you can hear me now?
I
Sorry.
Yeah.
can hear you. Yeah,
Oh, great. Thanks. Sorry for that before.
no worries.
So yeah, my name's Andrew. I'm actually with Schneider Electric here in Andover, and I'm a somewhat of a beginner bicyclist. But Dave, when you were here, you helped me fix a family member's bike, so appreciated that.
Nice.
I was just wondering if you could recommend any road etiquettes for drivers. And I take a lot of back roads between Andover and Acton, like through Carlisle, windy roads that are 2 lanes, but
Mm-hmm.
come across a lot of bikers, and sometimes they're tandem, sometimes they're in line, sometimes there's big groups of them. So I try to be patient, I guess, but I also would appreciate your perspective on what the best practices are for us as drivers and maybe as bicyclists also.
Well, both ways. So that was one of the points
Yeah.
I meant to make in this presentation. So I'm glad you asked that question, is when you're on the bike riding, think like you're in your car. What are the things that that experience as a driver that make you want to, you know, make you annoyed with cyclists, and then don't do those things. But that said, as well, people don't understand that when you're riding on the road, the cyclist has the same right to the road as the car. And if there's not enough shoulder, then the bicycle has the right to full use of the lane. And more towns are starting to mark that now. But there's also riding single file and maybe two abreast at most. But two abreast, it doesn't really mean abreast. It means you're alternating. So you have two bikes side by side, but you're not abreast. You have two lines and that's getting into more advanced cycling. When you start seeing teams out there riding together, they're doing a double pace line. So that's part of their training routine. But certainly riding along the edge of the road, knowing that you're a moving vehicle so that you have all the same laws that apply to you. Stop at stop signs. It annoys me when I see cyclists running through stop signs, because again, I know that annoys cars. So I don't want to create animosity. I don't want to create more animosity. You have your hand signals. Right hand turn is up, left hand turn is out, stop is down. Learn those and teach your children those as well.
Dave, we have a question in the chat.
Mhm.
If you live in a small town, no sidewalks, streets, etc., what would be a good bike to start on for an adult? And there are a few surrounding towns that have a rail trail.
Yeah, so now they have what they call fitness hybrids or sport hybrids. So a fitness hybrid is going to be basically a lightweight upright road bicycle. So it's going to have, narrower tires than you would have on a sport hybrid, but not as skinny as you're going to have on a road bike. Plus, the handlebar position is more upright. The saddle is going to be more comfortable because you're in that upright position. And it's going to have a wider range of gears because it's designed to do a wider range of terrain. If you're going to be in a community that has gravel trails and more dirt roads, then you can look at the fitness or the sport hybrid, which is basically the hybrid with a suspension fork and a little wider tire, a multi-use tire. So you're going to find something that is good on the pavement, but also has some tread when you get into those softer conditions. The tread on the tire only comes into play when you get into soft conditions and you start sinking down into the gravel or whatever it is. And so then the knobs start to give you traction and control when you're turning and braking and those kind of things. But on the road, tread makes no difference.
Any
Did that
other?
answer your question? The brand doesn't matter so much. It's going to be, you want to look for components that are going to have enough durability. You're going to probably spend $800-ish to get a decent quality new bike from a bike shop. Okay, good. And Andrew, did I answer your questions?
So Amy said yes.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you.
And let's see, any other questions for folks? We talked a little bit about the basic rules of the road, which we will be actually highlighting in another webinar that Dave will be doing. Is there anything else? Anything about equipment or I'm just interested, and this would just be kind of, if you could just raise your hand, it would be really interesting to me, like in the chat or wherever. But I'm interested, do any of you actually do your own like minor bike maintenance, or do you just take your bikes to a repair shop or have the mini tune-ups done by Dave when he comes to our work sites?
Now that we know about Dave, I'll certainly be going to him more.
Excellent. Glad
It's
to.
not, I mean, there's like, again, there's two levels of bike repair, what you can do easily, and then what would be better to be done by a professional. So anything that's minor adjustments on the bicycle are probably things you can do yourself, but you start talking about replacing chains, overhauling the bearing surfaces and the hubs of the headset. Those require special tools, and it may not be cost effective for you to purchase the tools.
Well, we have in the chat, we had one person who said that they do it, minor repairs themselves, and then we had one person who says, I don't do it myself. So we're kind of at a 50-50. So
Yeah, that's probably.
I did want to, I did want to remind you all that we will be having a series, I'm hoping, of weekly bike tune-ups on site at various employer locations and residential locations throughout the spring, April, May, and June. So I hope that, you'll all take advantage of that. And when you see the tune-up information that comes out from your work site, that you will register. We usually have slots for about 10 folks per tune-up for Dave to do. So, and if it's popular, like we had a very popular bike tune-up event this fall at Schneider Electric, and so we actually added another day for that. So, definitely be great to pass that along. We have some funding to do this from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So that's exciting for us. And we want to get as many people tuned up, ready to roll for the spring. And, we do some tune-ups for family bikes as well. If you want to bring your bike and, one of your children's bikes or one of your spouse or partner's bikes, that's terrific too. Because our goal is to get you out riding, and if you want to ride with your children, we want them to be safe as well. So we hope you'll keep an eye out for that. Do we have any other questions from anybody?
I think I have a question for everybody is how do I do? This is my first time, this is our first time presenting this, and so if you could give us some feedback, that'd be great. And then also to Andrew's comment about the TMA and the events we're going to be doing, there was the comment or the question asked, is the TMA going away? Well, your place of business or your residential center pays for this service, and they often offer the tune-up as a benefit to you as an employee. So certainly encourage you to take advantage of these tune-up situations that we have coming up. Because if you don't take advantage of them, then your employers won't necessarily do them again.
And also take advantage of the upcoming webinars.
This is true as well.
Our next, and that leads me into our, just kind of closing remarks that our next webinar in the series will be our second webinar, and that will be on March 19th, and it's going to be Spring Forward, getting you and your bike ready to ride. Same time, 12 to 12:45, and look for registration information coming in your inbox, probably early March for that. And again, please, talk to people about these webinars. We actually had 23 people signed up for today's webinar, which was great. We had 11 folks show up, so not bad, 50%. So please tell your friends about them. Our goal is to spread as much information about biking and bike safety as possible. So again, I just want to thank you for your time today. And as Dave said, if you do have any additional questions for him or maybe you think of something, after the webinar is over, feel free to email Dave at dave@pedalinfools.com. So that's DAV@PEDALINFOOLS.com. So, again, thanks so much for sharing your time. We know that you're busy, and we really appreciate your time today. And, if you have any additional comments, certainly feel free to send a comment to me as well at Andrea@MerrimackValleyTMA.com. So thanks again for your time. And with that, I think we will end our webinar today.